In the last lesson on figuring out your focus, we're going to be discussing niching down. We'll start with niching down your service offering. In a post by Anthony Pieri, who, side note, always has great content, he talks about the goal dilution effect, a psychological phenomena that states when you have focus on just one benefit, goal, or purpose, people believe you're much better at it. For example, who would you pick for heart bypass surgery? A general surgeon who does various surgeries, including the occasional heart bypass? Or a cardiothoracic surgeon who does 200 heart bypasses every single year? Ironically, I started my career working for heart surgeons. One of my surgeons was on a board that was measuring outcomes. And it turns out the more surgeons a surgery does, the better they are. The more a surgeon does a specific surgery, the better the results would be for that specific surgery. It turns out this is not just a psychological phenomena, it's a real phenomena. And we alluded to it when we discussed the assembly line. The more you do the same thing, the better you get at it. And so niching down on service offerings is not just about messaging for sales, but it's actually about delivering and making sure that you can deliver the best product. Because when you focus your product and your service, you focus on building better, repeatable patterns and delivering higher quality results. Now, some of you might think you've already niched down on your ICP or ideal client profile. In this example, we want to say that we've niched down to home service companies. Maybe we provide website services or infrastructure for home services companies. We've niched down, right? We're dealing with people who go to customers' homes. Remember that Facebook wasn't built for everyone. First, it was built for Harvard students, and then they added in other colleges, and eventually they added in everyone. So what happens if we niche down further? I've already identified 9 specific home service companies just as example. Obviously, there are many more, like electricians and so on and so forth. And now I've actually broken these home service companies another way. There are monthly services, there are occasional services, and there are one-time services. On a monthly basis, you might have lawn care, pool cleaning, pest control. On the occasional, like when things break down, you might have HVAC and plumbing and tree removal, or electricians, like I mentioned. For one-time services, you might have putting up a fence, or adding solar, or adding a shed. And the third one tends to focus on maybe higher ticket clients, but they're not going to repeat very often. Or you could actually go and narrow and pick a specific one of these and focus on just delivering value for something like, say, plumbers. The more niche your services, the better your team will be able to deliver because they will become experts in that niche. They will start to understand the niche. They will start to understand the customers, and they will be able to speak to the customers because they will have built context by understanding those customers in a way they couldn't do if they were servicing 50 clients that were completely different in nature. Now, there's an economic reality about niching down, which is the more you niche down, the more likely an industry downturn could affect you extremely negatively. I wouldn't necessarily go so far as to say only focus on one of these, however profitable it might be. I might say focus on one of these columns, let's say monthly, occasional, or one-time services. And I might say focus on a couple of these, but have teams dedicated to each one. So that way, when one industry turns down, the other one might carry you forward. And this happened to me in the past, where we specifically focused on one problem domain, but for 2 different industries. And when one of those industries was hurt and had a really bad economic downturn, including the slowdowns in 2008 and with COVID, the other industry carried us forward. But what we did is we became experts on that one thing, and then we became experts on the industries for that one thing. By focusing on 2 industries, we were able to provide a much greater level of service and get much, much deeper within those than if we were just a generic service provider for that particular problem domain. The next avenue of niching down is actually niching down internally. You really have to think about the roles and responsibilities that you have in your organization and who performs those, because you almost want to build an assembly line within your organization. Now, how do you build the assembly line? You focus on the concept of an assembly line. The assembly line is a step-by-step process where each worker does a specific and repetitive task. For service companies or software companies, This translates to segmenting the service delivery into distinct stages where each team member can specialize in one of the stages. Now, you might not be able to do this. This might be specializing in a whole cadence. This might be specializing in a whole process or an individual task even. It depends on your organization and what those tasks are. But if you can focus your departments and then you can focus the people within your departments, you will be able to deliver higher quality results and you will be able to deliver them faster. This does not mean you are not cross-training. This does not mean you're not making sure that other people can handle something. But if a particular person starts to specialize on a particular stage or task, they are going to be able to do it better. Now, as part of that, you need to consider the handoffs. And this is where things break down very frequently in service and software companies, because as a service organization, it's not quite as apparent as it would be in manufacturing when there's a break in the handoff. In manufacturing, if something isn't picked up when it goes down the assembly line, it's very, very obvious. The handoffs can be missed very, very easily in service and software organizations. What we need to do is develop very good approaches to handoffs. And if we can do that, we can start to specialize our people and focus our people on each of the stages of the process so that they can deliver the highest quality deliverables. By niching down in your service offerings, by niching down in your customer segment that you're targeting, and by niching down on your internal employees, you're going to be able to build an organization that delivers at the highest quality. And that's actually key to growing the accounts that you're working with. That's it for this week's lessons on figuring out your focus. Next week, we're going to kick off the beginning of the weekly cadence, and we're going to be focusing on the weekly reports. Thank you, and have a nice day.